Hey there everybody, Todd Glacy here. I wanted to share a little story with you all about something that happened to me just a couple of days ago. And it's a story about how I had to deal with stress and insomnia and how I won. So, let me take you back to what happened. Sue and I had been up in northern Maine, actually mid-coast Maine, having a beautiful day in one of the coastal towns there. And during the course of the day, it turns out that I had lost my cell phone. And we were sitting on a bench. We went back to the bench where we thought we had left it, and it wasn't there. And we tore the van apart, and no cell phone. We came to the conclusion that it had been left on the bench and that somebody had probably picked it up and walked off with it. And so through the rest of the day, we had gone to the police department and posted signs and asked some of the local business people if anybody had turned it in. No luck. Anyway, nighttime rolls around and we were spending the night there and had no trouble really getting to sleep that night. I was highly stressed. I mean, losing your cell phone is like losing your wallet in a lot of ways. So I was kind of really agitated and worked up about that. But I eventually got to sleep. But then what happened was during the night, as is normal, I ended up coming out of a light sleep stage. I was dreaming and I felt myself sort of regaining consciousness. And this thought came into my mind about, oh no, don't think about the cell phone because it'll stress you out and then you'll wake up. Of course, by then it was too late. The thought had entered my mind. I started thinking about the cell phone, and I could literally feel that stress, the cortisol and adrenaline going through my body. And I did wake up, so I'm lying there wide awake. And I thought to myself, well, okay, here's a perfect opportunity for me to practice things that I teach and see how would I deal with this situation. So what I did was something that's a process that I'll share with you and invite you to try it the next time you find yourself lying in bed dealing with stress, which is causing you to not be able to sleep. Now we know that when we are stressed or anxious, our body goes into a state called the sympathetic state, which is fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system. And cortisol and adrenaline get released into the body, which overrides our ability to relax and fall asleep. We can't really sleep and be stressed at the same time. Our body just can't be in those two states. So we have to move ourselves back to relaxation. Now, one of the things that if you've ever had insomnia due to stress that you know is really hard is to just stop thinking about it, right? You think, well, just stop thinking about it and you'll feel better. The reality is that once cortisol gets released into the body with that stressful thought, it takes about 20 minutes for the body to process and eliminate the cortisol so that the body itself can go back into a state of relaxation. So I knew I was going to be up for at least 20 minutes. So in the meantime, I had to deal with my mind and my thinking to make sure that I wasn't contributing continually to that stress state, right? I needed to be able to sort of relax myself. So one of the things that I did that I recommend doing is the first step is to not try and avoid or deny what it is that's causing the stress. So once you identify what it is that's causing it, what that thought is. For me, I knew it was, the whole issue around the cell phone. But what I did was instead of just trying to put it out of my mind, I actually took some time to sit with and acknowledge the thoughts and the feelings. I acknowledged the agitation, the fear, all these thoughts and feelings that came up around, not having, losing the cell phone, basically. And what this does is it sort of allows you to focus on what is, and it allows the energy to begin to dissipate. Because you know that when you resist something, what you resist persists, is a saying that a lot of people have. But when you struggle to fight against something, you're just increasing its energy. So the first step is to really just acknowledge what's going on, acknowledge the feelings, allow those feelings to happen up to a point, and then at a certain point you'll feel them begin to sort of mellow out a little bit. So once that happened and I had sort of sat with all that, I began to focus on, okay, what can I do right now? So one of the things about stress is it's a motivator to inspire us to take action. All right? So, for example, if you have an exam the next day, you might wake up stressed because it's trying to remind you to say, hey, I need to study for this exam, or I need to take some kind of action. So the stress around the cell phone was about, taking some action. So what I did was I took the time to go over and reconsider, was there anything that I could do in this moment to alleviate the problem, all right? In my mind, I went over, we had already gone to the police, we had posted some notices, we had checked every square inch of the van. We'd basically done everything within our power up to that point. So there was really nothing left for me to do. Now, if there had been something that I had thought of that I could have done in that moment, I might well have done that so that then I don't have to hold on to that. Or I might have written it down. The idea is to get it off of my mind so that my mind can relax and not be stressed by trying to hold on to a piece of information or something I want to remember, or a nagging thought of something that I coulda, shoulda, woulda done that might have made it better. So I went through that, realized that in this instant, right, in that particular moment, I had done everything that I could. There was nothing else that I could do at that time of night, and so I could let that go, right? And that was a really good way to, again, help me begin to relax a little bit more, right? The next step that I took was I began to envision what the best case scenario would be, okay? Now the mind begins to look at, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario? What's, all the scenarios? And what I decided to do was I made the choice to envision, to try and help empower what would the best case scenario be. And that would be imagining that tomorrow at some point we either go to the police station and the phone showed up, somebody calls the number we left, one of the store owners had the phone turned in. Whether or not that happened, what was going to happen, I couldn't be sure, but I figured, well, I can choose which one to focus on, so I might as well focus on the one that makes me feel the best, right? Because again, we're trying to not slip back into the fight or flight stress mode. So that's what I was thinking of. Okay, in my mind, I'm envisioning tomorrow at some point, somehow, somewhere, the phone will be back, and that'll be good, all right? Now, again, no guarantee that that's what's going to happen, but since it's all conjecture at that point in time of the night anyway, focus on the one that makes you feel the best. All right. The next thing I did was I shifted my focus to another topic. So I'm shifting my mind off of the phone, and I began just revisiting in my mind all the cool things that we had done that day. We'd gone on a really beautiful bike ride. We had walked over this footbridge. We'd looked at some houses. And I'm doing this with gratitude, just being really grateful for the beautiful day we had had, grateful for all the things that I had to be grateful for. And again, this begins to shift my focus, my awareness, helping me to relax and calm down. And throughout this, I just sort of remembering the high points of the day, thinking of all the things that I'm grateful for. Over the course of this, I was just beginning to let my mind go, to relax. The mind had already processed the phone thing, so I didn't have to stay stuck on that. And what happened was, eventually, probably within about 45 minutes, I fell back to sleep, and I slept through the rest of the night. Woke up in the morning, and there it was again, the phone, and, we went through the next day. But anyway, that process really worked for me, and so I wanted to share that with you as something that you can try whenever you find yourself either awake with stress or waking up with stress. So again, in a nutshell, the steps of this process are really, the first is to acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge what's going on, the thoughts, the feelings. Just rather than deny them and try and force them away, say, yes, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what's happening in this moment. The next step is to consider, is there anything I can do in this moment to change the situation or to influence the situation or improve the situation? And if there is, then you can take that action or write yourself a note to remember to take that action. The third thing is to envision the best outcome of that situation if this is appropriate. If you're worried about a particular thing that might be on the horizon, envisioning the best outcome you can imagine to help you get excited and feel good about it. Right? The next one is gratitude. Again, shifting your focus off of what was causing the stress towards something that you feel grateful for, or many things that you feel grateful for, and allowing your mind to simply relax and your body to begin to relax. And if you can maintain that over time, I think you'll find that sleep will eventually come back to you. Okay, so worth a shot. Worked for me in this instance, so I wanted to share with you. If you have any questions, again, be sure to reach out and connect with me. Happy to share what I know. And as always, sleep well, live well. We'll see you soon.